Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mr. Dolan's U.S. History on Location, here at the beautiful Drayton Plantation in Charleston, South Carolina. And today we are learning about the Southern Colonies. Of the original 13 colonies, 5 are considered Southern colonies: Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Behind me is Drayton Hall. Drayton Hall was built in 1738 when South Carolina was a British colony. Today we're going to talk about the economic, geographic, and cultural characteristics of the Southern colonies. The economics of the Southern colonies was dominated by the plantation economy. A plantation economy focuses mainly on mass producing a single cash crop. The main cash crops in the Southern colonies were tobacco, indigo, and rice. In North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland, they grew tobacco. In South Carolina and Georgia, they focused on rice and indigo. The Drayton plantation behind me focused on indigo. Indigo is used as a dye in clothing and is very valuable. So, what is a cash crop? Well, a cash crop is a crop that is grown primarily for sale, not consumption. The Drayton plantation behind me didn't grow thousands of acres of food, they grew thousands of acres of indigo. They would then sell this indigo down the river and sell it in Charleston for money, and then use that money to purchase crops like food. That is a plantation economy. In the southern colonies, plantations were based on rivers. The Drayton plantation, after gathering their crops, would bring their crops down to this river, load it onto barges, and then they'd go south to Charleston to make it to market.
Even though plantations dominated the southern colonies economically, they were not the majority of farmers in the South. Most farmers were small farmers that maybe grew food and other useful products and a few products for sale.
In a plantation economy where you're growing crops on a large scale, you also need a large labor force. In the 1600s, indentured servitude dominated as the labor force in the southern colonies. But by the 1700s, this was largely replaced with slavery. Indentured servitude is where a worker would sign a 5 to 7 year contract to work on a plantation. These workers were normally Europeans who were poor, criminals, or deeply in debt. They were provided food, shelter, and probably debt repayment at the end of their contract. The big difference between indentured servitude and slavery is that indentured servitude is a choice, slavery is not. By the 1700s, indentured servitude was replaced by slavery in the southern colonies. Slavery is where one person owns another person as property. Indentured servants are able to become free after 5 to 7 years. Slaves are never able to become free. Also, their children and their children's children will be slaves as well. The geography of the southern colonies is coastal plains in the east and the Appalachian Mountains in the west. The climate is hot in the summer and mild in the winter. The soil is dark and rich, perfect for growing cash crops. Let's finish up with some questions. 1. In 2 sentences, describe the climate and geography of the southern colonies. 2. What is a cash crop? 3. List the 5 southern colonies. 4. What type of farmer was the majority in the southern colonies, large or small? And 5. Compare and contrast slavery and indentured servitude.